Dear friends of the Tom Photo channel, I have produced reviews of Nikon D3400 and Nikon D3500. The links to those videos are down in the text box. I like those cameras a lot, despite the fact that they are considered entry-level. I value their ease of use and practicality, and of course the image quality. When I got my Nikon D610, which is a more advanced full-frame camera, I thought it was time to sell the smaller Nikons because they were redundant. I will tell you now why this would have been a mistake and why a large full-frame camera cannot fully replace your smaller crop sensor camera. I eventually ended up selling the D3500 to be honest, but I decided to keep my D3400. These cameras are basically the same, so I sold one of them, but the other one is standing proudly next to my D610. I kept the D3400 because I like its button layout a bit more. Many people would choose the D3500 for the exact same reason. Anyway, after I got the D610, I found myself to also use the D3400 more often. Weird, right? The D610 is really amazing when it comes to landscape or perhaps sports photography, but the D3400 still wins in the following categories for me, and not just in the category of price. First, size. I'm not carrying a large camera when I go for walks. It simply will not work logistically, and my walk becomes a drag as I drag a large camera along. I can hold my D3400 with one hand much more easily than D610 when that becomes necessary. Second, macro photography. The D3400 has a 1.5x crop factor, so my 90mm Tamron macro lens becomes more like a 135mm macro lens. The tiny box that I like to photograph becomes so much bigger. I essentially get a better photo quality out of my small crop sensor camera than the large full frame. Sure, full frame would give you a nicer, shallower depth of field and better bokeh, but in macro photography the problem is the opposite. The plane of focus is already so shallow that you usually want to use smaller apertures. Number 3. Telephoto work. Just like with the macro work, the telephoto lenses also have a 1.5 times better reach. You can get away with a smaller lens to see further. Everything is just cheaper and lighter. You can still use your full-frame lenses with crop sensor cameras, but not the other way around. Number 4. Focus points. The D3400 has focus points scattered much better all over the field of view than the large full-frame camera does. As a result, my focusing with it is more accurate. This really matters big time in macro photography, where 1mm off will ruin your photo. Number 5. Retro lenses. Most retro lenses were designed for 35mm film cameras, and this corresponds to full frame. So you'd think full frame digital camera will work better. Not so actually. Many of those lenses were good in the middle of the view, but had major problems in the corners. A crop sensor camera will essentially use the middle part, or the best part, of your view, so those old retro lenses will come to life much better. Needless to say, the full frame has a long list of advantages over crop sensor, and I have talked about those in my other videos, the links are below. Today I wanted to show you that it's not as simple, and full frame doesn't always win. Of course, a full frame will easily beat a crop sensor in low light, but I'd like to emphasize that this is not so in good light and at low ISO. In those conditions, you may not see any quality differences at all, or at least nothing significant. On a bright day, I'd often choose a crop sensor camera. Thanks so much for spending some time with me. As usual, I enjoyed it very much. And as usual, I invite you to consider subscribing to my channel or leaving a like to support me. Enjoy your photography, crop sensor or full frame. Goodbye.